Well, cool. I mean, those ESPN awards, they almost got every single one wrong. I'm a
Yeah.
little baffled. I'm a little I can't.
Hmm.
Dude, I also can't believe they gave Dricus du Plessis submission of the year. That's the funniest shit ever.
All right, welcome to another episode of Two Fight Fans, where we talk about all things in combat sports. I'm one fight fan, Colin.
And I'm the other Stewart.
All right, pretty much we have the last fight of the year coming up this weekend.
Hold on a minute. Are you
Yes.
forgetting about your good pal, Inoue?
No,
Having
his fight got postponed to later in January.
what?
Yeah,
Oh
because his
my
opponent
god.
got a cut during camp, so they postponed it now to like end of January, I think.
All right, well then cut that. Yeah, Colin, you're totally right. This is the last fight of the year. There's definitely nothing else after this.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, and it's a rematch.
It is a match that we were hyping, at the beginning of this podcast. Actually, the first one, and then excited that there was the automatic rematch clause in their contracts. And yeah, this is great. So,
Yeah,
uh,
three big questions I have for you
okay,
going into this.
yep.
One, does it feel as big as the first one?
So, okay, I don't feel it as big for a couple of reasons. One, I haven't seen a single ad for it aside from the
Yeah.
one that they put out, which is hilarious and great, but like, there hasn't been a lot of talk surrounding it. Uh, Two, isn't it not for all four belts again? Because what
IBF.
IBF pulled out and like did their own award, and then so it's still for the other three though.
Yeah. And
Okay,
let's be for real. The IBF belt is now held by Daniel Dubois, who
that's right. That's right.
prior to the Fury fight was Usyk's last opponent. And Dubois knocked out a overly confident Anthony Joshua. So,
Yep.
uh, I mean, it's not for all four belts, but it's kind of for all four belts. Like, let's come on. But yeah, you are right. The IBF took their belt and went home.
Yep.
Yeah. And then what's the other reason?
Actually,
Or
it's just
the
those two reasons. Yeah.
just those two? Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Like it doesn't feel as big as the first one. I think probably because now that there has been a four belt unified champion at heavyweight, you can never redo the hype of like this is going to be the first time that happens. Um, we have already seen this fight play out, and I think you're right. There hasn't been much advertising, though. We got to talk about that commercial for a second.
Yeah.
Can you think of a better commercial for a fight that you've ever seen?
No, like I haven't. Okay, so there have been a few like the UFC put up that have gotten me hyped, but this one was just so like on the one hand like so goofy and silly, but also like drumming up the rivalry between them that like and just the production quality of it was great. I can't believe it. It wasn't like like a lot of fighting videos and ads are still kind of stuck in that kind of not I don't want to say old school, but they're like very like oh it's got to be like they're hardcore like you let's see the like explosion, let's see like the bricks falling and things like that. But this one was like
Yeah,
so not that.
yeah. It's and I think it's not even just fight sports. I think all sports do that, right? You see like a football, they have an advertisement for the
That's
Super
true.
Bowl,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's like the fucking check out this guy, the quarterback in for Kansas City against the quarterback from this guy. One of their mothers will die, right? Like it's like a very hyperbolic. It's only about the people being who's going to come out the winner of the game. And this was some like being John Malkovich shit. Like we started entering like a surrealist nightmare, and I was like, "This is the dopest shit ever." For anyone who hasn't seen it, I think it opens with Fury at like supposedly like in a therapy session talking to his therapist, and he
Yeah.
says, "Do you still see? Uh, is Usyk in the room with us, or like do you still see Usyk everywhere?" And he looks up, and Usyk's face has been transposed on the doctor, and then it cuts to Usyk walking down the street, and somebody like touches him on the shoulder, and he turns around and it looks like Fury, and he goes to punch him, and then the guy goes, whoa, 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 and his face goes back to normal, and he goes, you just dropped your wallet. And it just proceeds to be whoever they interact with, their wives, their like their family members. At one point, I think Fury sees someone, and when the person turns around, Usyk's head, like Voldemort, is on the back of this person's head looking at him. It's the coolest shit ever. It's so good. Um, yeah, the hypest fucking advertisement I've ever seen for a boxing match.
Yep.
I maybe since I don't have cable, I don't know if it's been playing on cable, but I'm like, you should be having that shit on pre-roll everywhere. Because even casuals or people that aren't into boxing would be like, what the fuck is this? This is crazy. Yeah, it was in the way, like, not to get into like advertising, but when Old Spice first had their like non sequitur
Oh,
commercials, like
yeah, yeah,
"Hello, I'm a
yeah.
man on a horse," blah blah blah. That like every advertising agency in North America was like, okay, that's the new like style and standard for commercials. Like it feels like this is the new style and standard I'm gonna hold every fight commercial to. It has to be this wacky and fucking insane. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
no. So actually, I have a few questions for you. So first of all, where is this fight taking place?
Riyadh, baby, Saudi Arabia.
It's still in Riyadh. Okay, okay. So does that also mean that it's going to be at like 2 p.m. this Saturday?
I think the ring walks for us on the Pacific time zone are like 11:30. Yeah. Um,
But but not for those two fighting, like the undercard.
I think so. Well, let's actually look. We can look this up.
Yeah,
It,
because last
as
time
a
they fought at around like 1 or 2 p.m.
Okay, so it'll probably be the same. Um, Side note, isn't it wacky that like how many websites just get clickbait like ESPN, the independent Al Jazeera boxing news, like just letting you know when the fighters walk out. Like there's
Oh
no
yeah,
central website that tells you that, right?
yeah.
You have to go look for like a third party source. What a weird thing that we've just allowed to exist in this sport is being like, well, you got to just go find a random article that'll tell you. Very odd.
Yeah,
Let's look here.
yeah.
Da, 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 da. So they're probably gonna walk at 2:15 Pacific time.
Okay, there you go. See, yeah,
Yeah, so that's good. That's 5:15 Eastern time. That's not bad.
yeah. That's a pregame for your Saturday evening escapades.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. So yeah, it's in Riyadh because again, and we brought this up last time or mentioned it very briefly that apparently the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has been taking a bath on these fucking fight cards. I think they've already lost for all of their all the money handled by Turkey Al-Sheikh within boxing and MMA. Uh, Lost $1 billion return on investment, which this is due to they're trying to do sports washing, and I know like the point is not actually to like make money back. It's not. They're not trying to turn this into like a revenue generating business, but apparently they're losing so much money at such a rapid rate that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia went to Turkey Al Sheikh and went, all right, man, you got to bring all these fights back to Riyadh. No more doing them elsewhere.
Mm.
So, which is not great. We'll probably talk about it at some point. It's not great for the sport of boxing when, right, all you could have Usyk Fury in. Fury's huge in the UK.
Yeah.
Usyk is, I mean, they're both European. Putting it anywhere in Europe would be amazing. Anthony Joshua Dubois, I mean, that sold out Wembley, 90,000 people. You could easily sell this out at Wembley
Mm.
and turn a huge profit. And so, all those fight fans in those nations are kind of just denied the chance to go see their guy when fights come. Like Better Beef Bivol as well. Like that could have taken place in Canada. That could have taken place in Russia. Like it could have taken place in a ton of places, but it took place in Riyadh. When in a way fights, it sounds like they don't want him to fight in Japan. They want him to fight in Riyadh. If Tank
Yeah.
takes any of that money, he's going to go over there, and so it just kind of denies the live audience viewing experience for a lot of people, especially
Mm.
because it doesn't seem like the citizens of Saudi Arabia are that interested in boxing.
Oh yeah, we've talked
Yeah.
about like when they like a lot of the production quality is like in the video broadcast, like, and they're also like half the time the stadium or wherever, like one is not like a huge stadium, that they use for Riyadh, but also
Yeah,
like a number of the seats are just like, people
yeah,
are there or they're not. Like it's not like a big deal.
exactly. Yeah. So, anyway, but it's still an amazing fight, and like we need to be happy because, as you've lamented and boxing fans have lamented for the longest time, a lot of the boxing became notorious for just never being able to actually get the fighters you wanted to fight to
Yep.
actually fight.
Yep.
And Saudi Arabia is coming in blowing $1 billion, a big Billy, and they're making it happen. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So yeah, Riyadh, 2:15 Pacific time, the only uh, time zone you need to worry about. And yeah.
All
Anyway,
right.
another question I had
Great.
for you.
Yes.
What what I guess like what are the stakes or like what does it do for each guy's legacy or just each guy overall with a win here? Um,
Uh, yeah. So I mean, I don't know if there is a third rematch clause for like to decide on a rubber match if Fury would win, but like this is kind of we've talked about this before. Like this is Fury has had a tumultuous journey, like personally, like within the sport. So this is like the culmination of all of that, like that kind of comeback Rocky story esque,
mhm.
And he gets a rematch in a fight that was really really close. I mean, if Usyk didn't score that knockdown in what round 7, 8, whatever it was,
Seven.
would it have been like a tie or wouldn't Fury have gotten the nod? Like it was like that close, right?
Yeah, I think it ended up being 6 rounds to 6, but
Because Usyk got the knockdown and got
yeah.
one more point. Yeah, yeah, I thought
Yeah.
that's what it was. So like he was like right there, and he was finding a lot of success. So I mean, for him, it's just like okay, like he could become the heavyweight champion again, and like it just is a culmination of that, just this kind of thrilling story about a heavyweight boxer who like rose to fame that became like got sucked into all the negative surrounding it, like with drugs and alcohol, and like rehabilitated himself, and now he's like back on top. It's like it's a Hollywood movie story, that everyone likes to see. Um,
Yeah.
and not to mention, it will solidify him as one of the modern boxing's greatest heavyweight fighters. And same for Usyk. I mean, he's coming in as like a severely like undersized heavyweight in comparison to all the monsters that we see right now in the heavyweight division, and he's just come and wiped all of them. So
Yeah.
this would like solidify him as not only also one of the best heavyweight fighters of the modern era, but also like one of the best pound for pound fighters of like modern boxing. So for all of that, like in the fact that there's not a lot of hoopla and a lot of advertisement surrounding that, I'm like really surprised. And yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's there's
Yeah.
there's legacy at stake for them.
Yeah. I guess like the thing that it keeps like tickling the back of my brain is like let's say something happened and Usyk had to pull out or Fury had to pull out and then one of them just retires.
Mm,
Um if Usyk retires, he would retire undefeated. He would retire undefeated and the best like resume wise cruiserweight that's ever existed. He unified the four belts at cruiserweight. Then he went up to heavyweight, became the first person in the four belt era to unify four belts in the heavyweight division, and did it against got those belts against the two physically largest heavyweights of the era that were like the greats of the era as well, and that was supposed to be his kryptonite. Like the dude's already got a Hall of Fame record. Um,
yeah,
so I want like and even with a loss, I don't think it really damages his legacy too much at all.
yeah,
And if he wins, I don't even know if that really boosts his legacy. I mean, if he wins and then retires, he still retires undefeated, beating Tyson Fury twice. That means something, and a whole bag of cash apparently, over 100 million for this fight. But
damn,
if Fury wins or loses, I feel like that has much bigger ramifications for his kind of like how we view him in this division historically and just like his career overall. Um, so yeah, I wonder if it's because one of them was going to lose their O last fight, and it was to see who gets to ascend to call themselves the first unified, that it felt a lot bigger and it felt like it was much more legacy defining, because there is no rematch clause or rubber match clause for this fight.
Oh,
So it
okay.
could be that Usyk
This
has
is
said if
it.
he wins, he'd gladly give Dubois a chance to
Mm.
take the 4 belts. And the thing is, if Fury wins, the fight he's been angling for the most, and all promoters have, is that Anthony Joshua fight, right? They're the two biggest boxers in British history since like Ricky Hatton. Getting them both to fight would be awesome. And like you could still do a Fury Anthony Joshua fight if Fury wins or if Fury loses, right? Like that
Mhm.
still sells gangbusters. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but I have a feeling this might be. This definitely, I think, is the penultimate fight for both. The question is this the final fight for one or both of them as well?
Like final of their career, you mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because
right.
they are getting up there a little bit. Like they're both in their late 30s, right?
Yes. Well, no, I think Fury our fucking age. Uh,
Jeez, is he?
let's see. I know Usyk is, I think, like 36 or 37.
Yeah.
No, Fury's 36.
Okay.
Okay, so not exactly our age, but we're closer than I'd like to admit.
Yeah.
Um,
It is way closer than not.
yeah, and Usyk is 37. He'll be 38 in mid-January,
Okay.
so almost 39. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, so I don't know. It's definitely. I mean, it's the best fight you can make in boxing at the moment, right? It's super intriguing. I don't know if they're going to do the rubber match. I can imagine they both, like I said, retire after this because between these two fights, each one of them will have cleared probably $100 million that
Yeah.
they earned. So it's why fight, right? You don't need to go. I mean, unlike Conor McGregor, unlike some of these people that as soon as they get fame, they immediately kind of implode.
Yeah.
Though Fury did, he went through the imploding as soon as he reached the pinnacle of the sport, and then now has come back, like you said, which is such a like amazing part of his story.
Mhm.
But both of these guys seem kind of like consummate professionals, or like they're not just boxers for the cash. They will probably continue training and helping others and training. They will be in boxing gyms probably for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see
So
that.
yeah. So let's get down to I guess the nuts and bolts of it. Who do you think has more room to change and improve between the first fight and this fight?
What do you mean by more like they have a deeper skill set or they have the most improvement to make from the first fight?
Yeah, I guess more the second one, but in watching that first fight, there were things that Fury were doing very, very well,
Yep.
that were really troubling Usyk, and then he kind of got away from them as the fight went on, and
Mhm.
Usyk was able to take them away. Uh,
Yeah, I think it's
Usyk,
more that. I think Usyk was able to take it away, not
yeah,
necessarily like he just. Yeah, I don't think Fury. Okay, you know how we've lauded at this at length with MMA, how like a fighter finds success with a certain technique and then just doesn't do it anymore for whatever reason.
yeah,
That
yeah,
that didn't that was not the case in their first fight.
yeah. Um, so yeah, like I guess in looking at it, my gut, it feels like Fury had a lot of success with the long guard and the rear uppercuts leading into
Yep.
combinations. He also
Yes.
didn't lean on Usyk as much early on. It seemed like he really struggled with the speed of Usyk and the footwork, though he was able to kind of light him up with feints and kind of draw Usyk's hands away so that he could tag him. Uh, when the fight began to change and Usyk be able to get inside and land at the body and land at the head, uh, the uppercut didn't go away. He didn't lean on him as much. He didn't tie up as much as I thought he might possibly do. So I guess the question is like I have a feeling that Fury has a little bit more that he could change in his game plan that might yield better results. Whereas for Usyk, I'm like, you need to replicate that game plan again because it worked so well. And I also don't know what other game plan you could implement that would be surprising, right? That would be like drastically different and throw Fury off his game. So it feels
Mhm.
like one of them has to continue to fight their perfect fight, and the other person can make changes which may complicate their opponent's game plan. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, very much so. And like, I mean, that's kind of the standard for almost any like rematch, like if you won the fight, like it's up to your opponent to make the adjustments and to change it because you've essentially demonstrated the skill set needed to win. However,
Mhm.
this fight was such a back and forth
Yeah.
and kind of like manifestation of like what boxing is and like why they call it the sweet science of them like figuring each other out and bringing in a new strategy and bringing in new technique that like both their toolboxes seem pretty deep. So we may see an entirely different fight come out,
Yeah.
this next one, which is like again should be super exciting for people watching this. And uh yeah, I mean, it would be kind of disappointing if Fury came out and just, like, did the same thing because, like, Usyk figured it out within, like, 2 rounds, but
Mhm.
then, like you said, finding success with some of the techniques before, like, maybe setting that up or changing the complexity of a fight where he does lean more on a smaller and like not as heavy Usyk. That's definitely something that you and I both thought would happen, but he didn't get to take much advantage of that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's yeah. I Another thing too is like looking back over their record. U- Usyk has been dropped, but he primarily gets dropped via body shots, um, which I can never like fault a fighter for getting dropped due to a body shot, especially because you get an 8 count. So like if the wind is out of your lungs, you might as well take the 8 count, right? There's no need to
Yeah.
like fight through it necessarily. Um, Fury, however, has been dropped in of his last one, two, three, four, five of his last 6 fights. He's been dropped in 4 of them, and in 2 of those fights, he was dropped multiple times.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah,
also am wondering about like
and some of his drops have been like he
dead.
should have been, yeah, dead. Yes,
Yeah,
it should have been over.
yeah, like falling, like not like, oh, I kind of fall, but I bounce as I hit the ground, or I kind of like I'm taking a knee, like a sandbag, just thunk onto the
Yeah,
ground, and then he sits up like the gravedigger or the
Undertaker.
Undertaker. Yeah, I'm mixing up monster trucks and professional wrestling. I
Yeah.
mean, they're both low-brow, mouth-breathing interests. So anyway, whatever. But right,
We're talking about MMA right now, man, or we have talked at length of that, so we can't criticize that, man.
yeah, I mean, but that's a step up, right? Like Monster Truck and fucking WWE are the bottom of the barrel, and then like just a little bit above it, like just the last dregs of a sip from the barrel is MMA. So I stand by that. I stand by that. But yeah, Usyk knocked him down. Francis Ngannou knocked him down. The Deontay Wilder fight, I think the third one he was knocked down 3 times, and I guess he was not knocked down in the second one, so I was slightly mistaken. It was the first one where he
Mm,
was knocked down twice. But yeah, like I also wonder like has his chin kind of gone as well? Because I don't like Usyk doesn't hit softly. Like listening back to that fight, I don't know if you went back and watched it on YouTube,
mhm.
but I hadn't caught it the first time I watched it. Like the sound of Usyk's punches, especially when he's flurrying on Fury to try to get him out of there, I was like, God damn, those sound like fucking baseball bats. Like they
Yeah,
were. It's so loud, and he is just slamming them into Fury. Um, I wonder how being right 36 and having that many knockdowns and also that like constant ballooning in weight. I don't know if there's any science behind it, but that constant ballooning and then dropping a ton of weight. It seems like every time I see a fighter do that, they really struggle to like take a punch later in their
mhm,
career, or like when their chin goes, it goes really fast.
mhm.
Um, so that's also something I'm kind of wondering about going into this fight. Is like I'm like, well, Fury can't control this, and maybe he takes the first 7 rounds this time rather than 6. But it almost feels like an inevitability to me that eventually Usyk will get to his chin, and I'm just not confident that Fury can withstand like just a few clean punches from Usyk without having to take a knee.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I'll be interested to watch that. It's yeah, and also like Fury's a huge fucking dude, right? He's carrying
yeah,
like what 280 in their fight. Like he was fucking massive, and like your legs are just gonna have a hard time getting out of the way of things. after 12 minutes of fighting, after 15 minutes of fighting, when you're just that fucking huge. And
Yeah, yeah,
he's got 36 minutes that he has to deal with this guy. So,
yeah.
yeah. So do you have a prediction?
I I was thinking about this like all week, and I was like going back and forth. I am a big fan of Usyk. Like I'm a fan of the small fighters,
Oh,
but at the same time, I honestly can't make a prediction because like this one was so
oh,
back and forth, and that's why it was so entertaining. And like, I don't know. Like I when I first when we first watched the first fight, I didn't really know much about Usyk. I knew a little bit about Fury. Like I said, I hadn't really been getting back into boxing until this year. So seeing them go back and forth, I was just like so entertained, so impressed by their boxing IQ, the skill sets they brought, the adaptations, the reads they made. So like I can't make a prediction because it's going to be, if it's like that again, it's going to be a toss up. It's basically who gets the better of one round, who could take one extra round, or who's going to score something like a knockdown.
uh, well, that doesn't make for very thrilling podcast content.
I'm
Not
sorry.
having a prediction. Come now. No, listen. I stood up before the first fight and I said it, and I'll say it again here.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, Usyk by TKO.
You're
He's
gonna
gonna
say
do it.
TKO this time. He's gonna finish Fury.
Yeah,
I
I
like
that's
it.
what I predicted last time too. I said he's gonna take it to Fury and he's gonna come out the champ. And I believe in Usyk. He's, I think, a pound for pound great. I like.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We have Inoue in there. We have Terrence Crawford. Lomachenko was floating around there for a little bit. Um, uh, Beterbiev is in there, but I, at the moment, I actually think the size of Usyk makes everyone kind of blind to the fact that I think he's pound for pound one of the most skilled fighters in there, and I think he might be number one pound for pound when it comes to skill. Because
Mm,
Inoue and Terrence Crawford and all of these other greats, they ain't fighting somebody with a 65-pound advantage against them and still
yeah,
coming out on top. And
yeah,
Usyk's doing that, and goddamn, I love Usyk. He's fantastic. So
yeah.
TKO, just like I said last time, I think probably the back half of the fight.
Okay, okay.
Because I could see Fury coming out and looking even like hotter and sharper in the first like 4 or 5 rounds, but I think it's just a matter of time before even whatever adaptations Fury brings, Usyk will probably be able to decode it. Maybe it'll take him a little bit longer, but then, dude, when he lands those fucking lunch pail hands on your chin, you're gonna fall over. You're
That
gonna,
changes
yeah,
things. Yeah,
yeah. And
yeah,
Fury would have like we we talked about it very briefly, but like that knockdown that he had when he was falling back into the ropes, dude. If the ropes had not been there, let's imagine that had happened more kind of in the center of the ring. That would have been like a head whipping back, like full out on your back knockdown. And like you said, you alluded to I think last week, like it's tiring when you're older and
yeah,
to just like get off the ground, you know?
yeah.
And like he's got to get like a 6'11" frame off the fucking ground and 285 pounds. Um, and
Yeah,
he's right.
that's
An elite professional athlete, but also dude's got skinny ass legs and like he's got a lot of mass to move with that. So
but
yeah,
that's the thing. Like, I never realized, like, and I will never know, like, how difficult it is to get from like a laid down position when you are like that tall. But anytime you see it in the NBA, like if someone falls to the ground because of a scramble or something, they need like people to help them up. Not just because
yeah,
they're like, hey, be a good teammate. It's like physically to bend your leg in a way to like push yourself up is like very difficult. And again, both of us being, you know, sub average height, I don't
excuse
have
you.
that issue.
I'm average for like Indonesia in the 1950s. Yeah,
No, that
you know.
I will give that to you. There you go.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's just it's gonna be because it's interesting. I kind of like I mentioned it right, like this. Hey, Fury can drain Usyk's gas tank by like really hanging on him, but I think like just trying to find Usyk and just trying to get to him has to be not only physically taxing for a body that size, but also like mentally taxing, right? Because Fury has always been the person who's like more fleet of foot and faster and more skilled than his opponents, and they're big, slow, swinging heavyweights. and now he's suddenly got it's almost like a bee just floating around
Mhm.
constantly and like just
Yeah.
constantly stinging him. It gets really like mentally exhausting trying to like keep him off you and figure out what to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's it should be a good fight. I'm super pumped. It's I think I think with a win too. I hope Usyk retires. Like go out undefeated,
Mhm.
having cleared out two divisions and unifying two titles. Like that's the good shit, man. Like you can't. It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No one could
So
fault him if he did, you know?
yeah, he's getting up there in age, and like, dude, $100 million. Like, what? Why do you need to fight anymore? You don't need to fist with
Yeah.
other adults for that shit. Like, go live your life. Go be happy. Yeah. Same thing with Fury. I mean, he's got more. He's talked a lot about his mental health issues and like needing boxing to kind of keep him on the straight and narrow. So I don't know if him retiring would be helpful. But at some point, if he does get knocked down and let's say does get finished in this fight, that might be a sign that like his brain just needs a break from this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. Anything else? I mean, that's the final fight of the year.
That is the final fight.
It's it could. I have a hard time imagining it's going to beat the first one for fight of the year.
Yeah.
But it's if it does, oh, that'd be awesome. And yeah, and I'll just say it now: if Usyk wins for the second time, I mean, I know we keep talking about Alex Pereira and Ilia Topuria about fighter of the year. It's Usyk with a bullet. Like, there's no way. There's no way it's anyone else. It's got
and,
to be Usyk.
and that's why we're doing our fighter awards next week.
Yes,
So,
yes.
but
Uh,
I did want to, unless you have anything else to say about Usyk and Fury, I did want to point
no,
out
no.
that ESPN released their MMA 2024 awards. Did you see any
Oh,
of these?
so I did not see any of these.
All right, all right. Well, it's in our document, but I'm going to read it out really
Oh,
quickly
okay. Here
here.
we go.
Okay,
All right.
because you and I have not decided on our awards. We don't even know the categories yet, but some of these I'm sure will be replicated in some form or fashion. But
But they're
the
just doing MMA, right? They're
just
not
MMA.
doing,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I didn't see
They're
if they
probably,
had boxing. They're probably waiting as well for boxing. But
yeah.
anyway, men's fighter of the year, Alex Pereira.
Yeah.
Non-UFC men's fighter of the year, Francis Ngannou.
Oh, that's nice. Good for them, giving Francis a little rub. I know Dana probably hates that. He probably called ESPN and was like, "Get that goof off the screen." Um, but good. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, what did Francis Ngannou do? Did he fight? He didn't fight Fury this year. He
No,
fought him
no, I
last
think
year. Oh, so
yeah,
he's
yeah,
only fought one fight.
yeah,
Um, all right. I mean, it's a nice gesture. I don't
yeah,
know if I
yeah,
agree with it, but okay.
yeah. Women's fighter of the year, Kayla Harrison. Non
Okay.
non-UFC women's fighter of the year, Dakota Dacheva.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Dakota Ducheva in the PFL. She took it to Tyler Santos. Tyler Santos, somebody who, if they were in the UFC right now, would probably be a top 5 strawweight. And Ducheva beat the bejesus out of this woman. I will be very interested if Ducheva does come over to the UFC because she
Mhm.
looks like she might be the most exciting thing at women in the women's division at the moment. Uh,
Mm.
so, Kayla Harrison, do you agree with Kayla Harrison?
I no, but at the same time, like I was actually thinking about this, and I'm trying to think about what other women's fighters have really like either rose to prominence this year or like did something that was that stood out more so, you know?
Yeah, I'm trying to like looking at the champions. Is Juliana Pena? I guess you could argue that like coming back and winning the championship after like an
Yeah.
18-month layoff. Zhang Weili defended her belt in like a very very good fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, who? I mean, Kayla Harrison.
Is she the only one who's strung together 2 wins as well?
No, there are definitely other women that have strung together 2 wins.
I guess in
Let's
high
see.
profile fights, I should say.
Well, let's see. What did Manon Fiorot do this year? Manon Fiorot beat. Oh, she only fought once this year
Yeah,
against
yeah.
Blanchfield. Yeah, a lot of these women just not fighting a ton. Um, what about Ariana De Silva? Did she do anything this year? No. Um, fuck, I don't know, man. That's
Yeah, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's why. That's why I was like, huh.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I mean, Erin Blanchfield, how many times did she fight? She fought twice. Man, yeah, a lot of just two fights, and that's about it.
Mhm.
Um, hmm. Well, all right. Well, Kayla Harrison's a fine placeholder for now until
Yeah.
we do some more digging. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Okay. Fight of the year. Holloway versus Gaethje.
No, no.
Okay.
That's
Knockout of the year. Holloway
yeah.
KOing Gaethje.
You mean Holloway KO and Gaethje? No, they've
I
got it
know.
both wrong. They've got it
I
both wrong.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Submission of the year. DDP
Yeah.
subs Adesanya.
That that that's that's a big silly. That can't be. That's oh man. Why do they got to do Izzy like that? That's crazy. Right? Like that's fucked up. That's a fucked up thing. Uh,
but
damn.
is it? Is it?
Y- Yeah, there's better submissions at middleweight that we could call out.
All
Hamza
right. Well,
Chimaev submitted Robert Whitaker in one round. Somebody get a twister this year as well, or somebody got like an insane like. There's got to be maybe like it's lower level, but like the
yeah.
submission itself is amazing. Um, no, look at the like sequence of that too. It's the most Three Stooges esque nonsense. That's great. Ah, poor Izzy. Ah, they they really stuck it to him with that. Jesus. Wow. Okay.
uh, best moment of the year is Pereira's cup check and then waving off the ref and then immediately knocking out Jamal Hill.
That's crazy because we had the thing that everyone has talked about and has continually talked about has been the point at the ground of Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje at the very end of that.
Yeah.
That's moment of the fucking year. Like
Hmm.
I thought there was no debate there. That's we can argue about Ilya and Alex and if Alex's knockouts versus Ilya's against Volkanovski and Holloway are more important, but like moment of the year, like the 10
Yeah.
second instance of the year is Holloway dominating the fight, going against the most heavy-handed opponent he's ever fought, and pointing at the ground and going, "Fuck it, let's throw down right here," and then getting the
Mhm.
better of him with like half a second left.
Yeah.
That's come on, ESPN. That's crazy. It sounds like we got some kind of revisionist history here with the Max. I guess they gave him fight and
And
knockout of the
KO.
year,
Yeah.
but
So,
that's wrong too. Like that's crazy,
yeah.
right?
Uh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, and then we'll have our own, and we'll probably do our own version of this at some point. So, I mean,
Yes.
of
Yes.
some of these categories, but breakout fighter of the year, Diego Lopez.
Uh, maybe.
Yeah.
I guess. Okay, sure,
Yeah.
why not?
Okay.
Yeah.
Most improved, Dan Hooker.
That's actually not a bad call.
Yeah.
That's not a bad call. There's probably some lower level fighters who suddenly like added a jab. That probably deserve it too. But like, yeah, that's do they have most regressed fighter? Is Cyril Gone
No,
on that list? Because we need
no.
that. Okay.
I'll add that to our list.
Okay. Uh, okay. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it's a bummer that Dan Hooker's only fought once this year. I was really hoping that he was gonna get
That's
more of
what
a
I was
career.
wondering right there. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of one fight like ranked people this year.
Hmm.
Um wait, and they also put that Alex Pereira moment of the year above like uh Dustin Poirier beating back Benoit Saint Denis.
Hmm.
Or like submission of the year in that like back and forth like blood and guts fight with Islam Makhachev and Dustin Poirier,
Oh
actually
yeah.
putting Dustin Poirier to sleep. Like that's a better submission than fucking Dricus Du Plessis donking his way to victory. Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So is that what
Uh,
we're doing next time? Are we doing awards or are we doing predictions for 2025?
I'd say predictions
Okay.
next one, and then we'll do awards after that.
Great. And the predictions will be who will be the champion in each division by the end of the year.
Yeah, and
And
some
then
any major storylines and or announcements.
yeah, the three biggest storylines.
Yeah.
Which one of them, I hate to say it, we probably won't talk about it if it actually does happen. Did you see Dana White at a press conference said like like something just came across his desk and it's the most insane thing that none of you would ever suspect or see coming.
Oh,
He's gonna try to make it happen, and then
yeah.
all signs are pointing to Logan Paul versus Conor McGregor in a Zuffa boxing match.
Yeah, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, that'll be a big star. Here's the over under, Colin. Over or under 1.5 times that Conor McGregor in any press leading up to that boxing match is asked about his civil trial.
Uh, I know it will be asked at least once in the beginning, and then because of the response and everything, I'm sure Dana White will like put a halt to that in any subsequent ones.
So one time, not
Yeah,
even gonna get two. Ah,
nah,
that's a fucking bummer, man. That's a fucking bummer.
yeah,
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. I mean, those ESPN awards, they almost got every single one wrong. I'm a
yeah.
little baffled. I'm a little I can't.
Hmm.
I also can't believe they gave Dricus Du Plessis submission of the year. That's the funniest shit ever. That's amazing. Did he get knockout of the year when he knocked out Robert Whitaker?
I don't know. Let me pull up the 2023 awards here. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. Because that would be hilarious to have Dricus be the owner of two finish of the years when he's just donking around. That's
All
crazy.
right, I'll go through it really quickly. Men's Fighter of the Year for 2023: Islam Makhachev. Non-UFC fighter Patchy Mix. Women's UFC fighter Larissa Pacheco. Excuse me, non-UFC fighter Larissa
Yes.
Pacheco. Women's UFC fighter Alexa Grasso. That makes sense because she beat Valentina Shevchenko for the title.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Rookie of the Year Bo Nickel. Most
Okay.
most improved fighter is Sean Strickland.
Dude, the revisionist history on Sean Strickland is so upsetting because he's always fought this way. He's just
Yeah.
always fought this way. And everyone just was like, it doesn't work. And then it kept continuing to work. And everyone, well, what the fuck?
Yep.
Like, it was something where we had to grapple. But he's always fought that way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
his style has that. Talking about, like, when talking about, like, Usyk and Fury and, like, who can make adjustments, when we come to Strickland versus Duplessis 2, I'm like, everyone said, oh, I think Strickland's really got a style that's going to trouble Dricus Du Plessis. And it's like, but Dricus Du Plessis fought him for 5 rounds. Sean Strickland cannot change how he fights at all. There will be nothing different. Dricus Du Plessis can change infinitely. He's like a like a brain damaged chameleon running around the cage, right? Like that, he has so many more tools and avenues to make improvements on the fight that I'm like, I think this is going to be Dricus Du Plessis easily beating Sean Strickland again. Um, anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
So okay, yeah, Dricus
Yeah.
Du Plessis should have gotten Most Improved Fighter of the Year.
Yeah.
Like, is that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Fight of the
Anyway,
year in 2023 was Makachev versus Volkanovski 1 at UFC
yeah,
284.
yep, that's right. That's yeah,
Knockout of the year was Adesanya KOing Pereira.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
Submission of the year was Alexa Grasso subbing Shevchenko, which also makes sense.
yeah, I guess but it was like a pretty basic jumped on the back, grabbed the rear naked choke. Like again, the setup wasn't like this amazing thing, and that's not like the most technically challenging submission to get. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like I'd much
Yeah.
prefer to be like who got like a flying Imanari heel hook. I want to see that shit. Or like who's the I'll have to go back over submissions in 2023, but I'm pretty sure there were some like nasty ones where people's whole shit got exploded when somebody wrenched on their elbow or shoulder. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There is no knockout of the year in this category. Or
No, no,
this
no. You were right. Izzy against Pereira.
Oh,
Was
Izzy, I
the
did. Yeah,
knockout.
my
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. All
Man,
right.
that was 2023. Remember
Yeah.
those good days when Izzy was still on top, not getting named the victim of submission of the year against Dricus Du Plessis? This is wild, dude. It's wild. Um. All right. Yeah. Well, cool. So I guess in doing our awards, so we're gonna do these predictions next. In doing our awards, are we combining boxing and MMA? Because I feel like we should.
Yeah, yeah. I'm down.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. And we actually, I think any combat sport. So if you wanted to come in and be like, Fighter of the Year is actually this sumo guy, like you got to look at his record in sumo this year, then maybe that's right. He's still not going to beat Usyk or Topuria, but we'll hash out the Topuria Pereira debate because
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy because I had seen them being like 3 knockouts in 3 title fights in a single year. Um, Alex Pereira, and I was like, yeah, I mean that's especially because we're seeing challengers not even fighting twice in a year, or
Yeah.
at most 2 times. But then I'm like, but Ilya Topuria knocked out 2 fighters in 2 title fights. You know, like
Hmm.
he's one behind, and those 2 fighters were Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski, not Jamal Hill and Yuri Potska. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So anyway, all right. Well, this has been Two Fight Fans podcast. I'm one fight fan, Stuart.
I'm the other Colin.
Join us next week. We'll talk about the kind of fallout of Usyk Fury 2, when Usyk definitely will beat Fury. And then we will give you our predictions. And then this time next year, if we're all still alive and we haven't wasted away as old decrepit men, we'll look back and see how right we are about anything in life.
All
Cool. All right, everybody.
right.
Bye.
Bye bye.